I'm joined now by Matti Leppälä, CEO of Pensions Europe. Matti, many thanks for joining us here today. First of all, tell us a bit about the aims and objectives of Pensions Europe.
Pensions Europe is a European-level advocacy organization, which means that we have as members national pension fund associations from 17 European Union countries and 4 other European countries. And our members cover more than 100 million people in Europe and invest more than 4 trillion euros of their assets. We work with workplace pensions and personal pensions. There's often a link with an employment relationship. And our aim is that people in Europe will have good pensions.
For somebody starting out on their career today at age 18, for example, may be expected to work 40, 50, even 60 years, rather a sobering thought, isn't it? How important is it to persuade them to have a pension? What can you do to persuade them that that's really important?
Firstly, it's important to realize and to note that the retirement ages are going up. And in the future, they may well be in their 70s. That's a sobering thought for many, as in the past, people often retired by 60 or even earlier. And the fact is that the public social security pensions are going down. So people will receive much less than they did before from the state, from public pensions. So many need to save more for themselves. And that's the main question. People need to save more. It's about the aging of the population, the old age dependency ratio, how many working age people there are in relation to those over 65. That is deteriorating quickly. So at the moment, there are 3 to 4 working age people, in the future, less than 2. So public finances cannot support this. People need to save more. They need to be able to act. They need to be informed. They need to understand. And the savings have to be meaningful so that they have good returns. They are long-term savers. They need to have good long-term returns from their savings.
We've heard a lot about the gender pay gap, of course, over the years. Sadly, that does still exist. What about the pensions pay gap? That still exists as well, doesn't it? How serious a gap is that, and what can be done to address it?
Yes, there is a big gender pay gap. And very much as a result, there's a big gender pension gap. So women's pensions on average are 30% lower in Europe than men's pensions. There's a big range. I think the highest difference is in Portugal, 43%, and the lowest in Estonia, about 1%. But on average, 30%. This has slightly decreased about 4 percentage points during the last 10 years, but there's a long way to go. Much of this is due to the gender pay gap. Women earn less, women work more part-time and in non-standard forms of work. And then, of course, women are more responsible in reality for parental leaves and other care responsibilities, which are often not compensated in pensions. Some countries do have these compensation systems, like in Sweden, but even in Sweden, there's a gender pension gap that is close to 30%. So much needs to be done in order to deal with this issue.
Absolutely. We know that in the Netherlands, for example, 90% of employees have a funded pension. Yet across Europe, the numbers are really, really small. Why do you think that is? And how important do you think it is that we need to do something about that as soon as possible?
Yes, there are very big differences across Europe. And it really comes down to the historical reasons and how labor markets are structured. So in the Netherlands, they have good coverage of collective agreements and pensions based on collective agreements, and which are made then generally binding. So in the end, almost everybody is covered. In many countries, these systems don't exist. So then you have to use other policy options. You can have mandatory schemes, but there you have also problems when you're shifting from state tax-paid social security into mandatory workplace pension. The money that is transferred is attractive also in the future for politicians to maybe take it back to the social security. And if you don't have the collective agreements or you don't have the mandatory as a policy option, then you can opt for softer policies like the auto-enrollment that has been successfully rolled out in the UK and in some other countries. So there it is important for people to understand that they need to stay in the system and they need to save. So you need to use different policy options in different countries, but the main issue is that everybody needs to increase the coverage in workplace pensions because social security pensions will not be adequate and sustainable in most countries going forward.
So still much to be done. Okay, Matti Leppälä, many thanks for joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you very much.